My name is Evelyn Reed, a woman of 29 years, and I stand before you tonight to share a story of family, betrayal, and a truth that refused to stay buried. I will never forget that family dinner, the air thick with the scent of roast beef, and the tension of an unsaid reckoning. My boyfriend of 4 years, Brandon, stood up, a glass of water in his hand, and his voice cut through the hum of conversation like a razor's edge. He looked at me, a cold smirk twisting his lips. Amanda, no. Evelyn, he corrected himself with a chilling precision that made my gut clench. You're not worthy of the life we planned. The room fell into a stunned silence. My sister, Charlotte, leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with a triumph that made my blood run cold. And then, he dropped to one knee, right there in the middle of our family's dining room, and pulled out a ring that sparkled under the chandelier's brilliant light. He turned his gaze to my sister, and the words he spoke were not for me, but for her. "But you, Charlotte," he declared, "you're everything. Marry me." My sister gasped, a feigned expression of shock, before her face broke into a broad, malicious grin. "He's mine now," she announced, her voice a brazen shout meant for every relative to hear. The table erupted in a cacophony of nervous laughter and shocked murmurs. My mother, Martha, forced a nervous chuckle. My cousin, Michael, looked away, his face a mask of discomfort. Even my young niece, Emily, whispered to her mother, "This is some drama." I did not scream. I did not throw my wine. I simply stood, calm as the eye of a hurricane, and slid a small, innocuous USB drive across the white tablecloth. I plugged it into the elegant Bluetooth speaker my father, George, had used just minutes before for a holiday toast. The audio crackled to life, and a voice, low and intimate, filled the stunned room. "My dearest friends, what would you do if betrayal struck so publicly, so brutally, in front of everyone who matters? In this moment, when all seems lost and the world you built has come crumbling down, how would you respond? The world is full of moments when we are tested, when we must choose between silent despair and a courageous act of self-preservation. I want to know where you are and what you would think if you were in that situation. Please comment below." 3 months earlier, the unraveling had begun in the dead of night. 2 days before that nightmare unfolded, I moved through our apartment like a ghost in my own life, every step a calculated act of precision. I slipped out during Brandon's lunch break, heading to a nondescript jewelry shop in a forgotten corner of the city, far from our usual haunts. The owner, a grizzled man with ink-stained fingers, barely glanced up as I slid my real engagement ring across the counter. It was a beautiful piece, $12,000 worth of platinum and diamonds bought with promises that felt as hollow as the box they came in. "Need a replica?" I asked flatly. "Something close, but cheap?" He nodded, no questions asked, and handed over a perfect zirconia knockoff for a mere $200. It caught the light just right, a deceptive sparkle that would fool anyone who wasn't looking closely. Back home, while Brandon showered that evening, I made the switch. The real ring vanished into a hidden pocket of my purse, the cool metal a solid presence against my thigh. Brandon never noticed. Men like him rarely do. That night, I fired up my laptop, its screen glow the only light in the bedroom. I had installed an audio recording app weeks earlier, simple and discreet, syncing every word straight to my cloud. I tested it one last time, pairing it with the USB drive that would carry the payload. The file played, crisp and clear, his voice murmuring secrets, my sister Charlotte's giggles slicing through the silence. It was a symphony of betrayal, a perfect prelude for the speaker at my parents' house. No glitches. I leaned back, my fingers drumming the keyboard, a familiar shake starting in my hands, but I sat on them until it passed. Falling apart could wait. The next morning, I texted my cousin Michael. We had coordinated our plans in whispers during those long evidence hunts, his marketing job giving him the perfect cover to tail Brandon without raising any flags. "Backup ready," I typed. His reply buzzed quickly. "Drive to the airport booked for dawn after. Suitcase at my place. Clothes, cash docs, you got this, Evelyn." His emotional support felt like a lifeline, the one family tie that hadn't frayed. He knew just enough to help without the full weight of the betrayal crushing him. By afternoon, I dove into the compilation. 7 months of lies boiled down to a 5-minute audio nightmare. I dragged clips into the editor. The first hotel booking time-stamped right after that vacation toast. His low laugh. She's such a bore. The rehearsal where he practiced lines about me not measuring up. Overlays of dates and times popped in, since to his excuses, like late client calls. No music, no effects. Just the raw, unvarnished truth, with timestamps proving it spanned from a flirtation to a full-blown affair. My stomach twisted as I hit play, hearing my name twisted into an insult, but I saved it anyway. Ammunition. I set up a WhatsApp group next, family updates. I pulled in my mother, my father, my Aunt Eleanor, Uncle Frank, and even my grandparents. Everyone except Brandon and my sister, Charlotte. A quick test message. Can't wait for the dinner. Replies flooded in. My father's thumbs up emoji, Aunt Eleanor's excited comment. They had no idea this group chat would soon become the channel for the devastating fallout. Lunch with Charlotte that day sealed the act. She breezed into the cafe, the same pearl earrings I'd seen on her at Christmas dangling from her ears, a set I knew Brandon had charged to our joint card. These are a gift from a secret admirer, she said with a wink, twirling one. I forced a smile, stirring my coffee. They suit you, sis. Inside. Bile rose in my throat, but I kept it down. She rambled about her promotion, how busy she was, while I nodded, picturing her face when the audio dropped. Back home, Brandon paced the living room, his hand diving into his pocket every few minutes. The ring for her, he thought I didn't know. I caught him in the bathroom mirror later, muttering his speech. Evelyn, you're just not the one. His reflection was flushed, his eyes darting, nervous, good. That evening alone with my journal I scribbled the truth. Tomorrow they fall. No mercy. I sealed the note for the fake ring, worthless, like your lies, and tucked it beside the zirconia in its box. I placed it on the dresser, right next to my perfume, where I knew she would snoop. The bait was set. Sleep came easy, the kind that follows a certain, quiet certainty. 7 months earlier, the betrayal took root, quiet as a whisper on a summer's breeze. Our family vacation at Lake Tahoe was supposed to be perfect, my chance to show off Brandon to everyone. I was buzzing, my heart light, as we rolled into the lakeside cabin, the water glinting under the July sun. My boyfriend of 3 years stood tall, shaking hands, charming my mother and father with his marketing spiel. At the welcome dinner, my sister, Charlotte, stepped up, a glass raised. To family, and to Brandon, our newest addition, she said, her voice warm, but her eyes lingering on him a beat too long. I clapped, grinning, completely missing the glint in her gaze. Later by the pool, she brushed past him, her laugh sharp as she accidentally bumped his shoulder. The water splashed, and they locked eyes, her swimsuit catching the light. I caught the moment too, but brushed it off. She's just friendly, I told myself, sipping lemonade, the tang sharp on my tongue. My mother pulled me aside that night, her smile tight. You sure about him, Evelyn? Your sister says you always pick guys who don't stick. Her words stung, echoing years of comparisons. Charlotte was the golden child, grad school funded, a corner office by 30, while I was the dreamer, scraping by on my design gigs. My father nodded along, praising her latest promotion. I shrugged, forcing a laugh. He's different, Mom, but doubt crept in, a cold knot in my chest. Brandon soaked up the attention. Charlotte leaned close during a card game, whispering something that made him chuckle. I overheard her later, her voice low by the fire pit. Evelyn's sweet, but she drags guys down. He didn't disagree, just sipped his beer, his lips curling into a knowing smirk. My stomach twisted, but I waved it off. Family vacations were for bonding, not suspicion. The next day, she cornered him at the dock, her hair flipping as she laughed about some client pitch. I watched from the porch, telling myself it was nothing. She's so welcoming, I said to him later, encouraging him to text her to thank her for the great vibe. He typed fast, his phone angled away. She's amazing, he said, his voice too smooth. I smiled, blind to the spark igniting between them. That night alone in our room, I caught a notification on his phone. Her name. No contact saved yet. Nice meeting you. It read with a winking emoji. My pulse spiked, but I buried it. She really likes you, I teased, nudging him. He laughed a little too quick and replied. I didn't see his screen. Can't stop thinking about you. That was the moment it began. The line was crossed in a $500 cabin by the lake. Their glances, her calculated charm, his weak resolve. It all planted the seeds. I was too trusting, too eager to see family harmony, to notice the ground shifting beneath me. The day of the dinner dawned, my nerves steady as I faced the mirror. I breathed deep, practicing a mask of calm, my lips set firm despite the pulse hammering in my throat. Today was no accident, it was my design. I arrived at my parents' suburban Chicago house, the driveway packed with cars, Aunt Eleanor's sedan, Uncle Frank's truck, my niece Emily's beat-up hatchback. Inside, the dining room buzzed, plates clinked, and laughter spilled over my father's old jazz playlist. My boyfriend Brandon fidgeted by the kitchen, his palms slick with sweat, checking his jacket pocket every minute. The velvet box inside held his secret, not mine. My sister, Charlotte, glided in, her sundress. Bought with his card, $12,000 of our joint savings. Hugging her frame. She shot me a smug smile, tossing her hair. Confidence radiated from her, sharp as a blade. My father stood for his toast, his voice warm. 30 years of marriage. Family keeps us grounded. Glasses were raised, phones snapped photos. The air shifted as Brandon cleared his throat, stepping forward. All eyes turned to him. He grabbed my arm, pulling me to the corner, his voice loud enough to carry. Evelyn, you're not worthy of this life, he said, his eyes cold. We want different things. My stomach lurched, but I stayed still. He turned, dropped to one knee before Charlotte. You're my everything. Marry me, she gasped, a hand to her chest, then laughed. He's mine now, she declared, her voice slicing through the room. My mother gave a hesitant chuckle. These things happen, dear. Aunt Eleanor shook her head, confused. My niece Emily whispered, total drama show. Uncle Frank looked at his plate. The mockery stung, their assumptions fueled by my sister's whispered lies about me over the last 7 months. I didn't flinch. I walked to the table, my steps deliberate, and set the USB drive on the white tablecloth, its click against the wood deafening. I plugged it into my father's Bluetooth speaker, still warm from his playlist. The audio roared to life. Brandon's voice, smug and self-satisfied. She won't suspect a thing. My sister's laugh followed, mocking, a high-pitched taunt. Their whispers, their plans, all 7 months of their betrayal, were laid bare for everyone to hear. Charlotte's face drained of color, her ring clattering to the floor. She dropped to her knees, clutching the table. Please don't do this, sis, she begged, her voice cracking, her eyes darting to the stunned faces around her. The room fell silent. Phones were lowered. My father's fist hit the table with a crash. Get out, both of you, now, he roared, his face red with fury. Aunt Eleanor grabbed my hand, nodding fiercely. Emily grinned, whispering, You're a queen. Aunt Evelyn, Uncle Frank stood, pointing to the door. Brandon stammered, his script crumbling. I met his eyes, my voice steady. You deserve the mess you made. The family turned. Their pity for me was replaced by a profound disgust for them. My composure held. A wall they couldn't breach. Night fell after the chaos, and I drove back to our Chicago apartment. The city lights blurred past like a trail of fading lies. My hands gripped the wheel, steady but heavy, the weight of victory a sharp ache in my chest. The trap wasn't done yet. Inside, the place felt hollow. Our shared space was now a stage for the final act. I moved fast, grabbing my last essentials, a worn sketchbook, my mother's old locket, my laptop with its damning files. Then I heard keys jangle. Brandon slipped in, moving quietly, thinking I was asleep. From the hallway closet, I watched through a crack as he grabbed his charger, a shirt, his work bag. His phone buzzed, and he answered, his voice low. Babe, it went perfect. She barely blinked. He boasted to Charlotte. I'll grab my stuff and head to you. My blood boiled, but I stayed still. The coward couldn't even check the bedroom. I waited until the door clicked shut, then set the final piece. The fake ring, the $200 zirconia, sat on the dresser, gleaming under the lamp. Next to it, I propped the note. Worthless, like your lies. My sister's ego would drag her to it, comparing her prize to the one she thought was mine. The bait was perfect. At the kitchen table, I opened my laptop, scheduling the audio for the Family Scoop WhatsApp group. 7 a.m. sharp, the 5-minute track would hit. His whispers, her taunts, their 7-month betrayal laid bare. I double-checked the settings, my heart racing, but my fingers were calm. Done. Morning broke, and my phone erupted. The group chat exploded. My mother's message came first, her voice shaking through texts. "Evelyn, are you safe?" My God, what was that? My father's followed, his fury clear. That scum's done. No family events ever. Aunt Eleanor had forwarded the audio to Brandon's boss. By 8 o'clock, his marketing firm's HR policy didn't tolerate scandal. Fired by noon. Per her update. Uncle Frank chimed in, "Good riddance." My niece Emily sent a fire emoji. "Aunt Evelyn, you slayed." Brandon's calls came first, his voice frantic. "Evelyn, let me explain. It's not what you think." I let it ring, watching the screen flash. Charlotte's texts piled up, a mess of rage. "Delete that now, you're ruining us." Then softer, "I'm sorry, sis. Please?" I didn't reply. My finger hovered, then blocked them both. Silence was my power. I texted my parents. "I'm okay. We'll call soon." Michael pulled up outside, his car idling for the airport run. "You're unstoppable," he said, tossing my suitcase in the trunk. My friend Kelsey met us at the curb, her hug fierce. "So proud, Evelyn." I nodded, my throat tight, but my eyes were dry. Charlotte's world was crumbling. She had fled to a friend's place, but even those ties were fraying. Per Emily's gossip, no one invited her to Sunday brunch anymore. The fallout was just beginning. 2 weeks later, Big Sur welcomed me, its cliffs and ocean a stark contrast to the chaos I had left behind. I drove the coastal highway, my windows down, the salt air tangling my hair. My new life started here, in a rented villa perched high above waves that crashed like promises breaking. I powered off my old phone, switching to a burner with only essentials. My parents, Michael, Kelsey. A digital detox was my first rule. No social media, no echoes of their lies. Mornings began with hikes along rugged trails, my boots crunching gravel. The Pacific's roar drowned out old wounds. I journaled at sunrise, my pen scratching paper, spilling out thoughts untainted by betrayal. The words flowed, hope, not hurt. Updates trickled in from Kelsey. Brandon's career was ash. His firm blacklisted him after the audio leak, citing ethics violations. He had dragged Charlotte to small claims court over the ring, claiming I had stolen his $12,000 diamond. My evidence shut it down. Receipts proved the fake was $200. He walked away with court-ordered therapy, jobless. Charlotte fared worse. Her social circle ghosted her. No invites to family brunches or cousins' game nights. She had moved out of Chicago, holed up in some friend's basement. Therapy her only company. My niece Emily texted, "She's a pariah now." "Aunt Evelyn, you're iconic." I didn't gloat, I pivoted. That publishing house I had dreamed of, the one Brandon had mocked as a hubby job, offered me a freelance graphic design gig after a Zoom interview. I accepted on the spot, a $10,000 signing bonus wired to my new account. The real ring sold discreetly, funded 6 months of freedom. No joint accounts, no traces of him. Evenings brought new faces, a British painter I met over cliffside coffee, shared dinners and stories of her travels. I joined a pottery class at a local studio, my hands shaping clay under a teacher's gentle grin. "It's messy, but it holds," she said as my first bowl wobbled. Like me, I thought. Reshaped, but not ruined. The clay's cool grit grounded me, each spin of the wheel a step toward myself. The host of the villa, Alyssa, left breakfast baskets, yogurt, figs, coffee, outside my door. Her notes were kind but brief. "Enjoy the view," one read. I did, sipping wine on the terrace, the ocean stretching endlessly before me. No one defined me here. I raised my glass one night, the stars piercing the dark. "To self-worth," I whispered. "No one owns it but me." My friends, this betrayal stings, but it is not the end of your story. The lesson I learned is this: cut toxic ties early. Whether they are family, lovers, or anyone who dims your light, build a life that is truly yours. Don't wait for the perfect revenge. I learned that the hard way, but you don't have to. I never spoke to them again. No calls, no texts, no reconciliation. Charlotte and Brandon faded into their own ruins, while I built mine anew. The ocean kept roaring, and I kept walking forward.